Hey everyone, it's Kong again with another episode of Should You Summon. As always, I'm going to be presenting high-level overviews to help you decide whether this banner is worth your hard-earned vouchers and crystals. The overviews this week might actually not be so high-level, there's a lot to talk about with these two. This month's banner is for some more new Langrisser mobile original characters, Andriole and Nemia, running from January 11th to February 7th. As a rate-up banner, any SSR you pull has a 40% chance of being either of these featured characters, with the remaining 20% reserved for any random off-banner unit in the regular summoning pool. So let's go ahead and get started with Andriole. Andy is a powerful physical DPS unit whose central gimmick is his mutually beneficial Oath of Loyalty relationship with another unit you control. Once per map, at the end of your action, you can swear a sacred oath of increased stats to a non-summoned unit on your team. This increases their stats and Andy's stats by 15%. This works like an aura, so it won't stack with other auras like Lanford or Rosalia's swords, for example. Stat boosts are one thing, but this is where the oath gets juicy. If the pledged ally either gets a kill or dies, Andy refills his HP and gets to act again. This is why people sometimes call him Cavalry Gintoki. That's cool that he gets refreshed if the pledged ally gets a kill, but if they die, Andy gets even more bonuses. He goes into an enraged mode that gives him first strike and lets him ignore 30% of the enemy's defense. His one-cost skill is both a passive revive to 20% HP if the pledged ally is within 3 spaces, and an active 3-move act again. His 2-cost skill is a single target attack that chunks off 30% of his own HP before battle and inflicts that as fixed damage on the target. His 3-cost skill passively heals him 15% after acting, which is doubled if he's currently enraged by his pledged ally's death. When used as an active skill, it's a 1.8 times single target that strips 5 enemy buffs before combat. Pretty standard so far, right? If the pledged ally is within 3 blocks, or dead, and you're thus enraged, Andy ignores guard and deals plus 20% damage. You also get even more bonuses depending on whether this attack secured the kill or not. If it kills, the cooldown refreshes by 5 and you can move 3 more spaces. If it doesn't kill, you get to act again. You can act again! His talent also grants him plus 20% attack and defense if no allies are nearby, which kind of reveals what kind of DPS he's meant to be. Go get him, Andy. He's a member of Strategic Masters, buffed by Altemuller, Lanford, and Grenshiel, Empire's Honor, buffed by Bernhardt, Leon, Lance, and Rosenseal, and Meteor Strike, buffed by Zerida and Epsilon. For bonds, he doesn't unlock anyone else's bonds yet. He does need Prescia for his own defensive bond. I know, I warned you. For content, in PvE he's on faction for Phoenix, Scylla, and Valkyrie in the Eternal Temple, and Jormungandr and Sleipnir in Ancient Beckoning. He actually did make an appearance on a top-scoring leaderboard run against Jormungandr, and of course any unit with built-in act-again mechanics is bound to be broadly, generally useful across a variety of PvE modes. Of course, in most PvE content, you're not actually expecting non-summoned allies to die, so you're not usually going to be taking advantage of his enrage here. And if you're deliberately killing an ally in PvE, it's not content that's hard enough that it needs me to give specialized Andriole-related advice for it, you're just dicking around at that point. Still, if you need to pick a non-summoned unit to sacrifice, Awakened One is a pretty good choice, because her first death before she revives out of her portal counts as a real death. So you could use this to trigger Andy's talent, and then just get her back from the portal next turn. In PvE, she can usually find a pretty suitable target to get an easy kill and then get back to full power. His main claim to fame is obviously in PvP, where he can fully benefit from a juiced-up pledged ally while they're alive, and it's also statistically likely that your units are going to be dying. This guy can go in deep, strip buffs, ignore guard, hitting hard, then run back and have his skill ready again soon, or act again and try again for that kill. He'll bust tanks. Oh yes, he will. His build is pretty straightforward for a killing machine. Breeze is most obvious, although you could use Full Moon to double down on his bulk and rely on his healing to keep him above the threshold. He's such a scary unit that the extra mobility from Breeze is really oppressive though. He can use Routing Light to juice up his damage dealt even further, since he's one of those units that's going to make good use of his high mobility. Tiamat's Blessing and Fury of Tyr seem obvious. For his accessory, you can use the Physical Dimensional Jewel, which I just got on my account this week so I can finally show it in these screenshots. Or Overlord's Badge if you're going for general bulkiness. Or one of the class-specific damage boosting items, if you think this guy actually needs even more help in the damage department. Let's leave Andy for a moment and talk about Nemia. Nemia, aka Bikini McLean, is a wet archer, another scary long-range DPS who has some potentially surprising kill potential. Her talent gives her plus 30% attack with no conditions, so that's a good start. At the end of her action, with a brief cooldown, she can place special ocean current tiles when someone stands on them. If it's an ally, they get 15% healing plus a random buff, and if it's an enemy, they take fixed damage and move as if in water. Nemia herself gets 2 blocks worth of mobility reduction mitigation when moving through these tiles. Her unique 1-cost skill is a passive that automatically extends her talent's mobility mitigation to her 2 nearest allies. Now this effect won't stack with other similar effects like Mech Knights, for example. Her unique 2-cost skill is a 1.5 times damage single target 2-range attack that deals effective damage against aquatic units. If the enemy is in water, it ignores guard and stuns the target pre-battle. If Nemia is on one of her talent tiles when attacking, this attack also does plus 20% damage, so it can hit pretty hard. Her 3-cost skill's passive effect increases her skill range by 2 if she's attacking from her talent tile, and also lets her move 2 more spaces after attacking. When used actively, it's a hefty 0.4 times damage single-line AoE that puts affected targets into water, increases their fixed damage taken, and turns the covered terrain into her talent tiles. Oh, and if she's on her terrain when she launches this attack, it's actually a 3-line AoE instead of 1 line. Yay, splashy tiles for everyone. Splashy tiles for everyone. She's a member of Strategic Masters, buffed by Altemuller, Lanford, and Grenshiel, Legion of Glory, buffed by Ledin, Elwyn, and Grenier, and Yeles Legends, buffed by Landius and Sigma. For bonds, she also doesn't unlock anyone else's bonds yet, and she needs Roland for her own defensive bond. For content, in PvE she's on faction for Phoenix and Scylla in the Eternal Temple, and Hugin and Munin, Sleipnir, and Needhog in Ancient Beckoning. Unlike Andriole's totally broken kit, Nemia is really mostly suited towards PvP. Much like McLean, she has a steady output of annoying tiles, and much like McLean, she has the occasional opportunity to totally smoke a unit. For her build, Last Rites, King's Crown to pass buffs around clustered allies, Physical Dimensional Jewel or plus attack accessory of choice. She has a few weapon options depending on how you want to use her. Lurker's Bow could give her some extra range if your strategy is to slowly approach onto tiles and then fall back to the tank. The AoE Bow could juice up her 3C. Personally, I think Crystal Stinger is probably the safest overall choice because her real showcase skill is that 2C snipe. Breeze or Meteor both work, just get wet and have fun. Alright, let's move on to the notes for noobs. Andriole is a meta-altering unit for PvP who turns out to be strong and useful in the right kinds of ways to make an impact in PvE as well. Not much point in recapping everything here, he does it all, and he's a must summon. Nemia is also a powerful meta unit in Apex Arena. You can see how she brings a lot of firepower, but like all aquatic type units in this game, so many of her mechanics rely on water terrain or her own talent tiles. So you've got to create the conditions for your own success. Still, if you PvP, she is an impactful unit and highly recommended summon here. Listen, both of these units were still showing up in Chinese playoff boxes right through to the finals before this video was recorded. So they're still going strong. The main thing that'll push them out of boxes will be more powerful characters that either do more than them or make it harder for them to do their jobs. The way Zlong is going, that could be coming up on the horizon. But speculating about power creep in a 5-year-old gacha is not really a reason to avoid summoning these strong units now. Okay, finally we have our usual reminder about upcoming banners. Next week, we'll get a Grenshiel and Lambda banner, if you need a 40% chance to pick up Grenshiel and you missed the wishlist banner last month. We'll also have the routine Langrisser 1, 2, and 3 wishlist. The next week, we should get a Gerald and Layla, Joa and Connie, and Florentia banner, plus the routine Langrisser 4 and 5 wishlist. I love this banner. I love seeing 5 characters on a banner. On the final week of the update, we should get an Ashimar, Illustrial, and Toa waifu banner, plus the old Bozil, Liana, and Luna recurring banner. Next month's update continues this latest string of powerful must-summon units with Ashin. Plus, Hoffman is also on that banner. In the second week of that month, we should finally be getting the long-awaited SP upgrade stone for Almeida. She's not particularly OP, but she is Almeida, and we all love Almeida, right? Anyway, that's going to be it for this episode. I am not playing a particularly meta box this season, but I do want to make sure I have tools available to me in the future. So I'm going to be trying to summon 1 copy of each, and then I'll just shard them up the slow way. Let me know what your summoning plans are in the comments below, or, as always, on the Tone Discord. Link is in the description. Give me a thumbs up while you're down there. Thank you so much to everyone for watching. I wish you all the best of luck, and I will catch you in the next Should You Summon. Extra special thanks, of course, to our Langrisser tier channel members for generously supporting the channel directly. Shout out to Levitt, Kate Soon, Jared Portela, Jerome Meyer, Harambe, and joining them this month as newly minted Langrisser tier channel members, the Midland Guild. Thanks so much for your support, everyone.